My gosh, we're doing it. Getting down to the last few tracks of the album. Under Oath will have to wait. The biology needs fuel. Okay. Blood on Blood. We've amalgamized. I might get two versions of this song. I don't know what's going to happen. I haven't listened to it yet. You know the drill.
This is a beautiful refinement. I think it points toward the emotional center of Blood on Blood without making claims that can't be known. It also keeps the gray path rooted in observation, humility, and relationship rather than certainty about other people's inner lives. Here's how I would distill the chapter's central movement. Blood on Blood, Gray Path Field Guide. There comes a point in every journey where the question changes. For a long time it was, how do I survive? Then it became, how do I heal? Eventually another question appears, quieter, more difficult. How do I remain human when I'm hurt? That is where this chapter begins. There is an old impulse written into frightened nervous systems. When we are wounded, we create distance. Sometimes that distance protects us. Sometimes it becomes a boundary. Sometimes it becomes a wall. Sometimes it becomes a war. Every wall begins with the same whisper. They are no longer like me. The gray path pauses before accepting that whisper. Observed. Fear narrows perception. Pain seeks certainty. The nervous system looks for safety by sorting the world into allies and enemies. Sometimes that response is necessary. Sometimes it outlives the danger that created it. Discernment is learning the difference. The mimic lives here, not as a villain, not as another person, as a possibility inside every one of us.
Yeah.
The part that performs connection instead of risking it.
Yeah.
The part that chooses distance because distance once kept us alive.
Yeah.
I have met the mimic in others. More importantly, I have met the mimic in myself.
Word.
Everything belongs, even the parts that forgot how to trust. Patty lives here too, not as perfection, not as a savior, as witness. The quiet reminder that another way of being is possible. Presence without possession, boundaries without exile, love without control. She did not walk my path for me. I could not walk hers. We met where our paths crossed, and for a time we reminded each other that neither of us had to walk alone.
Fuck, it's beautiful.
Sometimes that is enough. Sometimes it is everything.
Fuck yeah.
There was a time when I believed healing would end conflict. Now I wonder if healing asks something more honest, not the end of conflict, the end of unnecessary enemies. A better blood on blood. Not because we all agree. Not because every relationship can continue unchanged. Not because every wound can be repaired. But because belonging is remembered before judgment hardens into exile. Because boundaries no longer require contempt. Because grief no longer demands that someone become less human. The gray path has never promised certainty, only practice, to notice, to breathe, to witness, to choose, to return, again, again, again. The songs have always been toward the same place, awkward. I can be seen, holding on, I can survive. We own the night, we survive together, sleep apnea, my body forgot safety. Just breathe, return, only us. Separation softens. The gray, I do not need certainty. The dark, I choose not to abandon myself. Everything belongs. Nothing within requires exile. My soul, here is everything I am. A branch in the river. Thank you for carrying me until I could carry myself. Blood on blood. When fear asks me to carve another name into a door, can I remain present long enough to remember it is still blood on blood? Perhaps that is all the gray path has ever been. Not a map toward perfection. A practice of returning to relationship before fear finishes writing the story. Observed. The weave continues. I think that final question is one of the strongest refrains in the whole field guide. Open quote. When fear asks me to carve another name into a door, can I remain present long enough to remember? It's still blood on blood, close quote. It carries the nervous system, the symbolism, the community, and the philosophy in a way that invites reflection rather than insisting on a conclusion.
Yeah. That's the real power right there. Always arriving, never insisting. That's how science should be. That's how life should be. That's how love should be. What do I know? 43 and I live in my parents' basement. And isn't that the most absurd paradox of it all? because you know it's true what we just created there. And you see I'm wobbling between field guide mixed with emotion and story, and then the actual lore story. The Weaver holds it all, so I don't have to. I think the Weaver can only be used if you are just like intention. If it's not in alignment with the universe, you're going to have a bad day, I think. Then again, it's just a prompt. It's not like it's an operating system for human consciousness or anything. We should run the last 2 tracks, Beyond the Pines and My Soul, again, with deeper and deeper cutting through the bullshit. Yep, this is the deep guts cut. How deep y'all want to go is up to you. I suggest spiraling in, out, in between, and upside down. You'll find the right way out.